Słuchasz podcastu Angielski z Konradem. Nowe odcinki każdego tygodnia. Jeśli chcesz popracować nad płynnością, nabrać odwagi do konwersacji, skorygować często popełniane błędy bądź poznać skuteczne metody nauki, ta audycja jest dla Ciebie. Remember, you're not at school, so chill out, kick back and enjoy yourself. Let's begin. Greetings! Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host Conrad, and this is episode 50, my Digital Detox. I hope you will love the show today. Thank you for your donations made through my buycoffee.to account. I really appreciate your generosity. Let's move on to vocabulary. Detox. Detox. Odwyk. Withdrawal. Withdrawal. Rzucenie nałogu. To go cold turkey. To go cold turkey. Rzucić nałóg z dnia na dzień. Cleanse. Cleanse. Oczyścić. Junkie. Junkie. Osoba uzależniona. Keep in mind that this is a very colloquial term and we usually say addict. Addict. This is also osoba uzależniona. Some of us hate to admit it, but in humanity's history there was no better time than now. The world changes in a pace which becomes too fast to catch up. Just a simple example, we've got the internet, an unlimited web of information, a source of entertainment, and a place to do your errands as well as to shop. A mere few years ago, it was unthinkable to whip out your phone and buy a car online or to apply for a mortgage. Life has become in many ways easier and more convenient thanks to those small devices in our hands called smartphones. It all comes at a price, however. Technology has a particular way of making our lives easier and harder at the same time. It solves many of our problems, but creates new ones along the way. So it's a question of putting costs and benefits on a scale and seeing whether the latter will outweigh the former. Among the most prominent social issues surrounding smartphones is addiction. Addiction to browsing, scrolling, swiping, refreshing, checking, rinse and repeat. If we aren't doing it right now, we are thinking of doing it. We wake up with a smartphone in our hand, we fall asleep with one, not to mention filling the time in between daily chores, work, commutes, and so on. During my research on the topic, I found an article showing statistical habits of an average phone user in the United States. I imagine it's not too far off compared to Europe. You will find the link to the article in your podcast notes if you want to check it out. Let me quote some of those statistics. Some of them involve generations. Do keep in mind that age gap of a particular generation is debatable. It isn't exact science, so you will find conflicting figures online. So, average screen time is 5.5 hours daily. It's over a day and a half every week, or nearly a week, of using your phone a year. The average mobile phone user checks their phone 63 times a day. That means taking the phone out of the pocket to see whether there's a new message, a notification, and so on. In my case, it became somewhat compulsive. I keep my phone in the left front pocket of my jeans. I sometimes feel my phone vibrating when in reality it doesn't. A fraction, meaning a small portion of millennials, people born in the 80s or 90s, use their phones for more than 12 hours a day. These are extreme cases, however. Surprisingly, generations preceding millennials aren't any better when it comes to screen time. For an average millennial, it's a little below 6 hours a day, whereas for an average baby boomer, it's a bit more than 5 hours daily. A baby boomer is a person born between mid-40s and mid-60s, basically your grandparents. Just as a side note, it's funny how out of touch generations are with each other, being so in touch with the same technology at the same time. Who knows how bad the situation is going to be with Generation Z, people born between the 90s and 2010s, when it comes to digital media consumption. Judging by the fact that younger people spend more time on their phones, we can only assume that the problem is going to get worse as the years go by. However, there are some voices that state the opposite, that Zoomers are so in tune with information technology that it doesn't have the same effect on them as it had on millennials, for example. Reading through those statistics made me realize that I am using my smartphone too much lately. Here are my telltale signs. Number 1. I check my phone first thing in the morning and just before going to bed. Number 2. I often refresh news several times an hour, as if I'm waiting for the world to end. Number 3. I check my email numerous times a day as if some important correspondence is about to be sent to me, when in reality, it's not. Number 4. I'm obsessed with YouTube since I watch videos for an hour a day at the very least. Number 5. I find it difficult to leave my phone anywhere else besides my pocket. I occasionally get anxious if my phone is not within my vicinity. Number 6. I'm unable to leave my apartment without my phone, even to throw the litter out. Number 7. I suffer from occasional mood swings when I'm unable to use my device, especially in social situations. Number 8. I use my phone as a filler activity, to kill time between or doing mundane tasks and household chores. Number 9. Carolina noticed that I procrastinate on my phone more often. Number 10, and that's my final nail to my smartphone coffin, and I'm a bit ashamed to admit it. Because of my addiction, I fear that my baby daughter has her time with her dad stolen. To be completely clear, I don't blame my phone, I blame myself. What also had me convinced is something I noticed one day on a playground with my daughter. Most of parents looking after their kids had their eyes firmly glued, not on their children, but on their mobile devices. Precious memories that could have been lost on browsing a Facebook wall. I don't want that for my child. That's why I decided to start a digital detox. It means that I want to cleanse myself of this nasty habit, either by getting rid of it completely or at the very least significantly reduce the amount of time wasted on my smartphone. As far as I know, there are two main approaches to a digital detox. Both are hard, both are difficult, but one of them is less extreme than the other. These are either to keep my smartphone and delete all the apps which are responsible for my time wasted. I have already tried that approach and it didn't work for me. Or to switch to a granddad dumb phone. What's a dumb phone? Well, it's the opposite of a smartphone. Obviously, a dumb phone has got a set of fantastic features such as calling or texting. You might even be lucky and get one that takes photographs. You get no internet browser, no email, no Facebook, no Instagram, no TikTok, no YouTube, no Google Maps. So I would be forced to do most of my tasks on a computer. Regardless of the path I take, I plan to take 1 month off my regular smartphone use. According to the statistics mentioned before, 41% of people who tried to restrict their time spent on their phone have succeeded. I hope I'll find myself among them soon. Alright, on to the vocabulary revision for this episode. Each word from the vocabulary section will be followed by an example sentence. You will find those, along with translations, at the very end of your podcast notes. You will hear each sentence twice. Let's begin. Detox. Detox. Odwyk. More and more adults consider starting a social media detox. More and more adults consider starting a social media detox. Withdrawal. Withdrawal. Rzucenie nałogu. My mom used to eat sweets when she suffered from nicotine withdrawal. My mom used to eat sweets when she suffered from nicotine withdrawal. To go cold turkey. To go cold turkey. Rzucić nauk z dnia na dzień. Most smokers lack tenacity to go cold turkey. Most smokers lack tenacity to go cold turkey. Cleanse. Cleanse. Oczyścić. Before you take your first sip of espresso, drink some water to cleanse your palate. Before you take your first sip of espresso, drink some water to cleanse your palate. Junkie. A junkie. Osoba uzależniona. As an adrenaline junkie, Tony loves to take unnecessary risks. As an adrenaline junkie, Tony loves to take unnecessary risks. As an adrenaline junkie, Tony loves to take unnecessary risks. Alright, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to follow me on Spotify. It really helps me reach more people with my content. If you value the podcast as an educational resource, consider making a small donation through my buycoffee.to account. The link is in the podcast description. Every little bit helps. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.